Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Ariella. I make videos about my wonderful life as a medical student, my wonderful, stressful, crazy life. It is a super rainy day today. Today is Monday, April 13th, and I am just getting a ton of work done today. So I had my coffee in the morning. I love a good espresso, and I also worked out this morning as well. I try to get up at 6:30 every day and get a workout in, and I made breakfast as well, and then I got to work. Oh, my mom also made coffee. Bless her, she's home right now, and I don't know what I would do without her. So I just got dressed for the day. Obviously, got to make my bed and make my room feel clean so that I'm productive. And then I also had some laundry this morning to fold as well. So I will let you watch this little time lapse of me doing my laundry, because apparently this is my favorite thing on my channel now. Also, the rain today was absolutely insane. You can see it like splashing on the road. That's crazy. Spoiler alert. Something happens at the end of this vlog that has to do with the rain, so if you want to see what happens to me in the rain, keep on watching. It is 8:30 in the morning, and I technically officially started my renal block last week. Things have changed, so I want to take you through how my study techniques have changed today and kind of explain a little bit about why I changed things up from cardio and how what I was doing before wasn't really working for me. So hopefully the rain in the background is not too disruptive. I actually kind of like it, but this is a rough outline of what I want every day to sort of look like. And I felt like I needed this because I didn't really have a lot of structure in my schedule before, so this is what we're doing now. So I wake up every day around 6:30. I have already exercised, and I'm a little late to starting today, but I'm going to start working on note cards. And, you know, this is just what I roughly try to stick to. And then I also have a to-do list every day. So this is more specifically what I want to work on. Like, I need to watch the Tubular Transport 2 lecture and then watch the Boards and Beyond video on the same subject. I want to go through first aid and organize what I'm going to learn each day. That's what that looks like. So the first thing I'm going to do, actually, before I start note card, I'm going to go to my first aid notebook and I'm going to organize exactly what sections I'm going to do each day. So let's head to Good Notes. And as you can see here, I've kind of already hashed out a schedule, so I want to be done with the renal chapter by the time I reach my renal exam. That makes sense. So that's 33 total pages. The renal section isn't huge. So this was last week, and this is this week. So let's go ahead and set this up. All right, so here we are at the screen. So I'm just going to move this guy out of the way temporarily. And let's see. So we finished page 588 last week. So by this weekend, I want to be 11 pages forward. So today is 4/12. And I also base this on what my schedule looks like. So if we take a look at my Google Calendar, we can see that this week is actually pretty easy, but I'm probably not going to schedule a ton of first aid review on a day like this where I have a lot of exams, or a day like this where I have a tutor session. You probably can't read this, it's probably a good thing. So I think the day that I want to schedule the extra reading will be Wednesday, because I only have 2 lectures that day and each of them are only an hour. So we're gonna go with that. And then this will be Friday, 4/17. We want to be at page 599, which was our ultimate goal for this week. So each day I have 2 pages of first aid to read, the only exception being Wednesday, where I have 3 pages. And this is obviously pretty flexible. If for some reason on one of the days I don't finish all of my reading, I just finish it up the next day, and then I either have extra to do that day or the entire schedule gets pushed back. I do give myself a little bit of leeway, so if I don't finish by Friday, I do have the weekends as well to review. So let's grab this guy, put him back. I'm not actually going to start the first aid review until later today. So right now I'm actually going to work on Anki cards, which I have on my iPad. So let's do that. finished up my Anki cards that are on my iPad. I keep the cards that were made by a student in my, not in my class personally, but at my school. I keep those on my iPad so that way they're a little bit more portable. They're more important for me to know because she was very good at knowing what kinds of questions would be on the exam. So I'm gonna check that off. And then I end up keeping my boards review note cards, which I have one based on the first aid deck. And if you've been following along, you kind of know I've been struggling with figuring out what kind of boards review I want to incorporate into my studying. I keep my boards review Anki cards on my laptop to kind of separate them in my brain, if that makes sense. And Anki tends to get a little bit overwhelmed if you have too many cards, so this just helps split it up and keep Anki running pretty fast. So the next thing I need to work on is lectures. So I actually watched one of my lectures this weekend, which was awesome. I had enough time. I got a little bit of extra work done. So I'm gonna finish the second lecture from today, which I started on the weekend also. I like to be ahead, I don't know, it's a weird thing. And then I'm going to treat the Boards and Beyond tubular transport video as a lecture today, and I need a lot of help with that subject, so I'm going to watch that. So that is the next thing on the agenda. Okay guys, so I got partway through my lectures and now I'm gonna go downstairs and get myself a snack because I'm ravenous, and also try and make that Dalgona coffee thing that was popular in India and Korea, and people have been calling it the TikTok coffee. I don't know. It looks really good and people say it's not overrated, it's worth the hype, so I'm gonna try it out. Where is she? Alright guys, so I just took my 1 hour break for lunch. I'm basically right on track, so I'm going to finish the Boards and Beyond video that I was watching. I think I'm about halfway through it, and then I'm going to start annotating first aid. Okay, so this video is a normal vlog, but it's also about the changes that I've made to my study habits based on how my performance went in cardio. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about why what I was doing for cardio didn't really feel like it was working for me and how I'm changing up things in renal. So if you want an in-depth analysis on what I was doing in cardio, I recommend you check out my med school vlogs playlist. I talk a lot about what I've been doing in order to be successful in cardio in some of the earlier vlogs from this term. So around like the beginning of March. I was basically just following what the professors recommended to me. Unfortunately, I kind of felt like I was running out of time every day and I couldn't get everything done. So I wanted to change things up a little bit to make my studying more efficient and also to incorporate resources that were going to be useful for me come time to take boards next year. And of course, this is in addition to making a more rigid and strict schedule for myself so that I didn't waste as much time. All of these things were kind of combined because of the way I felt when I went into my cardio exam. I felt like I was very unprepared. I hadn't stored a lot of this information into my long-term memory, and even though I ended up performing well on the exam, I knew that I could do better, so I have been changing things up. And that's kind of how med school goes in general. You hear this from a lot of med students, but you have to change up your studying style, sometimes within one class for different subjects. So yeah, I'm just going to talk about how I changed up my studying for this particular block, and if it goes really well, then I'll obviously keep it for poem or change it if I need to. So there were 4 main changes that I made. The first was that after the first cardio quiz, my class was kind of shocked at how little time we had to do all the questions that they gave us. This isn't surprising considering we're taking the quizzes from home, so obviously to discourage cheating, they want to make the exams a little bit harder by imposing a time limit. And the time limit is the same time limit that's recommended by all the board exam people. It's like 72 seconds per question. But going from having a ton of time for every question during an in-person exam to now only having maybe a little bit longer than a minute to think about the entire problem, figure out the answer, make a decision, and move on was kind of a shock for a lot of us. And I'm a fast test taker and I barely finish in time now. So I can't imagine what it would be like if I was a slow test taker and I ran out of time. In order to accommodate that, the first thing that I've been doing is I've been doing practice questions at the 72-second time limit so that I can improve my speed answering questions and absorbing like a multiple choice blurb and being able to pick an answer quickly and stick with that answer and move on. The good thing about having a short time limit is it doesn't really give me any chance to second guess my answers, and that was a problem that I had with a lot of my exams that I had extra time on. I would change my answer and then the answer would ultimately end up being wrong and I had the right one, or I had the correct one first, and I should have just left it and I got a lower grade because I was indecisive and I second guessed myself. The 72-second time limit doesn't really allow us to do that, which is really nice, but it is definitely still an adjustment and it's something that we kind of had to figure out immediately in cardio. So in order to get even better at that for both my exams now and for boards, I've been doing practice questions with a 72-second time limit. I'm using quizzes that one of the upperclassmen made and gave to us for free. And that's kind of all I've been doing. I haven't really found another source of questions, but I definitely think before my renal exam, I'm gonna try and do that with some sample COMLEX questions. I think that would be a really good idea. So the second thing that has changed is that our exams are now open note. And so that kind of relates to the first part where the questions are very quick. You don't want to give students enough time to be able to just look up every single answer because then they're not going to learn the material as well, they're not going to keep it in their long-term memory, and then they're going to perform poorly on boards. So, unfortunately, they kind of have to make exams open note because there's no way to guarantee that students aren't already using their notes. Obviously, in these circumstances where the professors cannot control the environment in which we take the exam, that definitely takes a lot of stress off. Because the exams are open note, I've been utilizing the scribe notes a lot because obviously you can find things much easier in the scribe notes than you can in handwritten notes. If I remember a certain section of a scribe note, I can just search for it on my iPad rather than having to go find the individual lecture, scroll to the part where I know I wrote something down. Sometimes all the lectures kind of bleed together and I get confused. So instead of annotating onto the PowerPoints, I've been annotating onto the scribe notes. and that has been really helpful. I never thought I would use scribe notes as much as I do, but it's so incredibly nice to just have like a transcript of the entire lecture. So that's the second thing that I've been doing. It isn't really a huge difference because I used to take my own notes anyway, but man, it just saves you so much time. Third change is I go through phases with note cards, but I am changing my study techniques so that I have a lot more time for note cards. So this kind of goes in with my new schedule because note cards are my literal least favorite thing to do. So I try to get them out of the way first thing in the morning, right after I exercise. And that helps me look forward to other things I have to do later in the day because I've gotten the thing that I hate out of the way right in the beginning. So I've been using Anki decks from a student at our school who made her own. She's very good at picking out things that are definitely gonna be on the exam, and I've gotten a couple questions right just from looking at her cards, so I like to do those. And then I also save my review cards for old material, which is like a boards review deck for the evening, which is, you know, kind of not the best. It's not my favorite thing to do at night, just like sit there and spam Anki cards, but it gets the job done, so I'm not gonna complain about it. And I'm definitely getting to this point where I feel like I need to really at least start reviewing some of this material seriously because I've got a cumulative project at the end of the semester that you kind of need to know at least a little bit about all of the systems that we've learned so far in order to present to the faculty. So that's definitely something that I have been trying to incorporate more. And then the last big change, which I kind of hinted at earlier, is I'm using a lot more boards resources than I was at the beginning. So I bought my love, first aid. As every other med school YouTuber says, first aid is wonderful. It's amazing for synthesizing and boiling down to the extremely board relevant details, but it is in no way a comprehensive review for boards. So what I do is I will just slowly go through the book. As you kind of saw earlier, I schedule out a certain number of pages in the book to read per day. That way, by the time I'm done with renal, I've completed the entire renal chapter. I like taking notes, so I take notes and I basically, I don't necessarily transcribe it, but I definitely write down things that I didn't know before. I write down my own notes in a different color that I want to add to the subject. So it's been fun and it's something that I look forward to. So I kind of use it like around 3 or 4 p.m. usually if I am feeling like the midday slump and I don't really want to work anymore. I like taking notes and making them aesthetically pleasing. So I use that to like make my day a little bit better. And then I've also been using Boards and Beyond videos at like the end of the week or the weekend. I just watched one today on tubular transport because we had our second tubular transport lecture today and I am very confused. It's going to take a lot of review for me, I think, to get all the different transporters and the different locations down, but one of the ways that I help myself study something like that is that I watch the Boards and Beyond video. I don't speed it up. I watch it at normal speed and I take notes while I'm watching it, but I don't put too much stress on making the notes look really nice. I just kind of jot down things so that I remember them for later. And yeah, those are, I would say, like the biggest changes that I've made so far, and hopefully they work out. If I get a lower grade on my test, I guess I'll just go back to doing what I was doing before. But personally, in terms of my long-term retention, I feel a lot better about what I'm doing now. So yeah, I hope that helps. I feel bad because I feel like I'm giving you advice without knowing how it's gonna affect me yet, but hopefully if you're watching this sometime in the future, you can kind of watch my journey and see how my study techniques have changed. If you feel like you're doing something and it's not really being productive, the biggest thing I can recommend to you is to just like overhaul what you're doing. I kind of analyze what is going wrong in my studying. So when I was looking at cardio, I felt like pharmacology was a big weakness for me. So once we get to pharmacology and renal, I'm gonna spend a lot of time on that for sure. Having like a normal schedule obviously was a big struggle during cardio because it was the beginning of our quarantine and being away from school. So I really needed to nail down a schedule for myself. And I feel like that has been the biggest help for renal so far, is not necessarily changing my study techniques, because those things will definitely tweak my performance a little bit, but having that specific schedule in place so that I don't get distracted is one of the most important things that I can stress. Because obviously when you're home, you're taken out of your med school environment, so you feel like you're no longer in your normal schedule. But now that I am back to my normal schedule, I feel like I can be more productive throughout the day. So Speaking of productivity, I'm actually going to start tomorrow's lectures because I'm a psychopath and I like to be ahead, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna work on some review Ankies for the rest of the day and then editing this vlog, so let's do it. It's finally nice outside, so I can actually go for a walk. So I'm gonna do that so I can get like nice and refreshed and hopefully jump back into work. We got stuck in the rain, so we ran. So I guess that's my exercise for the day. Alright guys, I think I'm gonna end it off there for the night. We just ended up, I did some note cards and then we had dinner and watched a movie. Shout out if you know what movie we were watching, it's one of my favorites. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you think about my new study techniques. Do you think they're good? Do you have any suggestions? And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!